I smoothed my apron and took a deep breath, steeling myself for another Sunday dinner with Gloria. The aroma of roast chicken filled the kitchen, but my stomach churned with dread. "Emily, dear, are you sure you used enough seasoning?" Gloria's syrupy voice drifted in from the dining room. "The last time it was so bland." I bit my tongue, resisting the urge to remind her that she'd praised that very same chicken recipe just last month. "I'm sure it'll be delicious, Gloria," I called back, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. Aaron appeared in the doorway, his brow furrowed. "Need any help, honey?" I shook my head, offering a tight smile. "I've got it under control. Why don't you keep your mother company?" He hesitated, clearly sensing the tension. "You know, Mom means well. She just— Aaron!" Gloria's voice cut through our conversation like a knife. "Come tell me about that big project at work. Emily can manage in the kitchen, I'm sure." I watched my husband's shoulders slump as he turned away, leaving me alone with my simmering resentment. As I carried the platter to the dining room, I caught sight of my reflection in the hall mirror. At 35, I looked older than my years, worry lines etched around my eyes. "There she is!" Gloria beamed, her perfectly coiffed silver hair gleaming in the soft light. I was beginning to wonder if we'd eat before midnight. I set the platter down, forcing a laugh. "Oh, Gloria, you're such a kidder." Aaron cleared his throat. "It looks great, Em, doesn't it, Mom?" Gloria peered at the chicken, her nose wrinkling slightly. "Well, it certainly looks interesting. Did you try that new recipe I sent you?" "Actually, because I specifically remember telling you how much Aaron loves lemon and rosemary. Didn't I, darling?" Aaron shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Mom, Emily's chicken is always delicious. Let's just enjoy the meal, okay?" I sat down, my hands shaking slightly as I reached for the serving spoon. The meal progressed with Gloria peppering Aaron with questions about work, barely acknowledging my presence except to make thinly veiled criticisms about the food or the state of the house. "You know, Emily," Gloria said, dabbing at her mouth with a napkin, "I was talking to my friend Marge the other day. Her daughter-in-law works full-time and still manages to keep a spotless home. I don't know how she does it." I gripped my fork tighter. "Well, It's probably because she doesn't have children yet," Gloria continued, her eyes boring into mine. "Speaking of which, when are you two planning on giving me some grandchildren? I'm not getting any younger, you know." The room fell silent. I looked to Aaron, silently pleading for support, but he stared down at his plate. "We're still discussing it," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Gloria squeaked. "Well, don't wait too long. Tick-tock, dear." I abruptly stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Excuse me, I need some air." I fled to the back porch, gulping in the cool evening air. Tears pricked at my eyes as I leaned against the railing, wondering how much longer I could endure this weekly torment. The screen door creaked open behind me. "Em?" Aaron's voice was soft, hesitant. I turned to face him, no longer able to hide my distress. "I can't do this anymore, Aaron. Your mother, she's—" I know," he said, running a hand through his hair. "She can be a bit much, but she loves us in her own way." I shook my head, frustration bubbling up inside me. "Love? Is that what you call it? She criticizes everything I do, makes me feel worthless in my own home. And you just sit there and let it happen." Aaron's face fell. "That's not fair, Em. I'm trying to keep the peace. What do you want me to do? Choose between my wife and my mother?" The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. Before I could respond, Gloria's voice rang out from inside. "Aaron? Emily? Where did you two run off to? The dishes won't do themselves, you know." I closed my eyes, feeling the last of my resolve crumble. When I opened them again, I saw the conflict etched on Aaron's face. In that moment, I realized that our marriage had become a battlefield, with Gloria as the opposing general. And I was losing the war. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, but its warmth did nothing to ease the chill that had settled between Aaron and me since last night's disastrous dinner. I mechanically flipped pancakes, my mind racing with unspoken words and simmering frustrations. Aaron shuffled into the kitchen, his tie askew. "Morning, Em," he mumbled, reaching for the coffee pot. I turned to face him, spatula in hand. "We need to talk about last night." He sighed, shoulders slumping. "Can't we just forget about it? Mom didn't mean—" The doorbell's shrill ring cut him off. We exchanged puzzled glances before Aaron went to answer it. "Mom?" I heard him say, surprise evident in his voice. "What are you doing here so early?" My stomach dropped as Gloria's voice carried through the house. "Can't a mother visit her son without an interrogation?" "I brought breakfast." I gripped the counter, willing myself to stay calm as they entered the kitchen. Gloria breezed past me, setting a bakery box on the table. "Oh, Emily, dear, you didn't need to cook. I brought those croissants Aaron loves." She wrinkled her nose at my pancakes. "Though I suppose we could have both. Wouldn't want your efforts to go to waste." I plastered on a smile. "How thoughtful of you, Gloria." Aaron cleared his throat. "Mom, this is unexpected. Emily and I were just about to—" "Nonsense," Gloria interrupted, waving a manicured hand. "I have wonderful news that simply couldn't wait." She beamed at us both. "I've decided to move closer. I found the most darling little house just 3 blocks away. Won't that be lovely?" The spatula clattered to the floor. Aaron's face paled as he looked at me, then back to his mother. "Mom, that's quite a decision. Are you sure?" Gloria's eyes narrowed. "Of course I'm sure. Don't you want me nearby? Especially when you two finally decide to give me grandchildren." She turned to me, her gaze sharp. "Speaking of which, Emily, have you seen a doctor about your situation? At your age, fertility can be such a concern." The room spun. I gripped the edge of the counter, feeling as if the ground was crumbling beneath my feet. We. "Mom," Aaron interjected, his voice strained. "Emily and I haven't decided about children yet. It's a big decision." Gloria's laugh was like glass shattering. "Oh, Aaron, you're not getting any younger either, you know. And Emily, well," she gave me a pitying look. "Tick-tock, dear." Something inside me snapped. "That's enough!" I shouted, surprising even myself. "I will not be bullied in my own home. Our family planning is none of your business, Gloria." The room fell silent. Aaron stared at me, wide-eyed, while Gloria's face flushed an angry red. "Well, I never," she huffed. "Aaron, are you going to let her speak to me like that?" I turned to my husband, silently pleading for support. He looked between us, conflict etched on his face. "Mom, Emily's right. We need some space to make these decisions on our own." Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "My own son, turning against me, after all I've sacrificed for you." She gathered her purse, heading for the door. "I suppose I'll just go home and die alone, shall I?" As the door slammed behind her, Aaron slumped into a chair. "God, Em, what are we going to do?" I sank down beside him, emotionally drained. "I don't know, Aaron, but something has to change. I can't live like this anymore." He reached for my hand, his touch hesitant. Maybe we should start trying. For a baby, I mean. It might make things easier with Mom." I jerked my hand away, stung. "Is that what you want? To have a child just to appease your mother?" Aaron's face crumpled. "No, I don't know what I want anymore." As I looked at my husband, the man I loved, but who seemed increasingly like a stranger, a cold realization washed over me. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, and Gloria's scissors were poised to snip it. "Aaron," I said softly, my heart breaking, "we need help. Real help. Or I don't think we're going to make it." His silence was deafening, and in that moment, I felt more alone than ever before. The weeks following Gloria's announcement of her impending move blurred together in a haze of tension and unspoken resentment. I found myself withdrawing, spending more time alone in our bedroom, away from Aaron's conflicted gaze and the constant reminders of our crumbling marriage. One particularly gloomy afternoon, I sat on the edge of the bathtub, staring at the pregnancy test in my trembling hands. 2 pink lines stared back at me, undeniable and life-altering. "Emily?" Aaron's voice called from the hallway. "Are you okay? You've been in there a while?" I opened the door, my face a mask of shock. "I'm pregnant," I whispered. Aaron's eyes widened, a mix of emotions flashing across his face. "Are you sure?" I nodded, holding up the test. "I've been feeling off for weeks. I thought it was just stress, but—" He reached for me, then hesitated. "This is... wow. I mean, it's what Mom wanted, right?" His words hit me like a slap. "What your mother wanted? Is that all you can think about?" Aaron backpedaled. "No, I didn't mean—" "Save it," I snapped, pushing past him. "I need some air." I grabbed my keys and stormed out, ignoring Aaron's calls behind me. The cool autumn air hit my face as I walked aimlessly through our neighborhood, my mind reeling. A baby. Our baby. The one thing that should have brought us closer was instead highlighting the chasm between us. Lost in thought, I didn't notice the familiar car pulling up beside me until I heard her voice. "Emily, What on earth are you doing out here alone? I turned to see Gloria, her face a picture of exaggerated concern. Just taking a walk, I muttered. She clucked her tongue. Nonsense. Get in. I'll drive you home. Too exhausted to argue, I slid into the passenger seat. Gloria chatted away, filling me in on her moving plans and the latest neighborhood gossip. I stared out the window, my hand unconsciously resting on my still flat stomach. Emily? Gloria's voice cut through my reverie. Are you even listening to me? I turned to face her, suddenly overwhelmed by the weight of my secret. I'm pregnant, I blurted out. Gloria's car swerved slightly before she regained control. What did you say? I'm pregnant, I repeated, my voice stronger. Aaron and I are having a baby. The car screeched to a halt as Gloria pulled over. She turned to me, her eyes gleaming with a mix of triumph and calculation. Oh, Emily, this is wonderful news. I knew you two would come around eventually. Have you told Aaron yet? Oh, we must start planning immediately. I have so many ideas for the nursery. Of course, I'll need to be there every step of the way to guide you. First-time mothers need all the help they can get, you know. Her words washed over me in a suffocating wave. This moment, which should have been filled with joy and excitement, felt tainted by Gloria's presumptuous planning and barely concealed criticism. Gloria, I interrupted, my voice shaking. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but Aaron and I need to process this ourselves first. We'll make our own decisions about the baby. Her face hardened. Now, Emily, don't be foolish. You clearly need guidance. Why, when I was pregnant with Aaron... Stop, I shouted, surprising us both. This is not about you, Gloria. This is about me, Aaron, and our child, our family. Gloria's eyes narrowed dangerously. Family? I am family, Emily. More so than you, it seems. Aaron will want me involved, you'll see. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Aaron. Where are you? Mom's here, looking for you. She seems upset. I looked up to see we were parked in front of our house, Aaron standing on the porch with a confused expression. Gloria was already out of the car, striding towards him with purpose. Aaron, darling, she called out. Emily has the most wonderful news. I scrambled out of the car, my heart pounding. Gloria, don't... But it was too late. As I watched Gloria embrace Aaron, whispering in his ear, I saw the future I had imagined for us slipping away. Our joyous announcement, our private celebration, all stolen in an instant. Aaron's eyes met mine over Gloria's shoulder, a mix of confusion, joy, and something else I couldn't quite name. In that moment, I realized that my pregnancy wasn't just the beginning of a new life. It was the catalyst that would either save our marriage or destroy it completely. As my pregnancy progressed, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The joy of impending motherhood was constantly overshadowed by the growing distance between Aaron and me. Even more surprising was Gloria's sudden change in behavior. Emily, dear, you simply must put your feet up, Gloria cooed, fluffing a pillow behind me. In my day, we knew the importance of rest for expectant mothers. I blinked in confusion, unused to this new, attentive version of my mother-in-law. Thank you, Gloria. That's thoughtful of you. She beamed, patting my hand. Anything for my grandbaby. Now, let me fetch you some herbal tea. It's excellent for morning sickness. As Gloria bustled off to the kitchen, I caught Aaron's eye. He shrugged, looking as bewildered as I felt. I guess the baby news really changed things, he said, a hint of relief in his voice. I nodded, unsure how to feel about this unexpected turn of events. Part of me was grateful for the reprieve from Gloria's constant criticism, but another part remained wary, waiting for the other shoe to drop. As the weeks passed, Gloria's overbearing attentiveness began to grate on my nerves. She was constantly at our house, offering unsolicited advice and making plans for the baby's future. Meanwhile, Aaron grew increasingly distant, often working late and seeming distracted when he was home. One evening, as I sat alone in the nursery we'd begun to prepare, I heard Aaron's key in the lock. Glancing at the clock, I frowned. It was past 10 p.m., another late night at the office. Aaron called out softly. You still up? I waddled out to the hallway, one hand on my growing belly. Hey, I said, trying to keep the accusation out of my voice. Long day? He nodded, avoiding my eyes. Yeah, big project. Sorry I missed dinner. Again, I added, unable to keep the bitterness from my tone. Aaron sighed, running a hand through his hair. I said I was sorry, Em. What more do you want? I want my husband back, I exploded, months of frustration boiling over. I want the man who used to be excited about our baby, who used to talk to me, who used to. I trailed off, choking back a sob. Aaron's face crumpled. I'm trying. It's just, there's a lot of pressure at work, and with Mom always around. Don't blame this on your mother, I snapped. She may be overbearing, but at least she's here. Where are you, Aaron? Because it sure doesn't feel like you're in this with me. He reached for me, but I stepped back. I need some air, I muttered, grabbing my coat and keys. Emily, wait. But I was already out the door, tears blurring my vision as I made my way to the car. I drove aimlessly, eventually finding myself at a small park near our house. Sitting on a bench, I watched young families playing, their laughter a stark contrast to the heaviness in my heart. My phone buzzed insistently. Thinking it was Aaron, I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It was a text from an unknown number. Your husband isn't working late. He's with her again. Lincoln Hotel, room 302. See for yourself. My blood ran cold. With trembling hands, I started the car and drove to the hotel, my mind racing with possibilities, each worse than the last. As I approached room 302, I heard muffled laughter. Aaron's laugh, followed by a woman's voice I didn't recognize. I stood frozen, my hand poised to knock, when suddenly the door swung open. Aaron stood there, his shirt untucked, lipstick on his collar. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of a young woman hastily buttoning her blouse. Our eyes met, and in that moment, my world shattered. Emily, Aaron gasped, his face draining of color. I can explain. But I was already running, one hand protectively cradling my belly, the other wiping away hot tears of betrayal. As I drove home in a daze, one thought crystallized in my mind. I had to protect myself and my baby, no matter the cost. The life I had known was over. Now, I had to figure out how to build a new one from the ashes of betrayal. The days following my discovery of Aaron's infidelity passed in a blur of numbness and disbelief. I wandered our house like a ghost, mechanically going through the motions of daily life while my mind raced with unanswered questions and suppressed rage. Aaron's desperate attempts to explain and apologize fell on deaf ears. I couldn't bear to look at him, let alone listen to his excuses. Gloria, sensing the tension but unaware of its cause, hovered anxiously, her newfound solicitousness now grating on my last nerve. One afternoon, as I sat in the nursery folding tiny onesies, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Riverside Cafe at 3 p.m. if you want to know the whole truth. My heart raced. Could this be the same person who had tipped me off about Aaron's affair? Despite my better judgment, I found myself driving to the cafe, curiosity and desperation overriding caution. As I entered, a young woman with sleek blonde hair waved me over. My stomach clenched as I recognized her from the hotel room. Emily, she said, her voice surprisingly gentle. I'm Samantha. Thank you for coming. I sat down stiffly, my hands protectively cradling my belly. Why did you want to meet? Samantha sighed, pushing a folder across the table. Because you deserve to know everything. Aaron's been lying to both of us. With trembling hands, I opened the folder. Inside were photos, receipts, and printed emails documenting Aaron's affair, not just with Samantha, but with multiple women over the past year. He told me he was separated, Samantha explained, her eyes brimming with tears. When I found out about you and the baby, I knew I had to come clean. I stared at the evidence, feeling as if the ground had opened up beneath me. How long have you known? A few weeks, she admitted. I've been gathering evidence. Emily, there's more you need to know. Aaron's been embezzling from his company to fund these affairs. He's in deep trouble, and I'm afraid he might try to pin it on me. My mind reeled. The Aaron I thought I knew, my loving, supportive husband, was a complete stranger. A liar, a cheater, and now a thief. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Samantha reached across the table, hesitating before placing her hand on mine. Because I was wrong to get involved with a married man, and I want to make it right. You need to protect yourself and your baby, Emily. As I drove home, my emotions swung wildly between devastation and fury. How could Aaron do this to us? To our unborn child? And how had I been so blind? Entering our house, I found Aaron and Gloria in the living room, their hushed conversations stopping abruptly at my appearance. Emily, honey? Gloria cooed, her saccharine tone setting my teeth on edge. Where have you been? We've been so worried. I ignored her, fixing my gaze on Aaron. We need to talk. Now. Gloria started to protest, but Aaron cut her off. Mom, please, give us some privacy. As soon as we were alone, I slammed the folder down on the coffee table. Explain this, I hissed. Aaron's face drained of color as he flipped through the contents. I can explain. Explain what? I exploded. How you've been cheating on me for a year, how you've been stealing from your company, how you've lied to me every single day. He reached for me, but I recoiled. Emily, please. I made mistakes, but I love you. We can work this out. I laughed bitterly. Work it out. There's nothing left to work out, Aaron. It's over. You can't mean that, he pleaded. Think about the baby. We're a family. The mention of our child ignited a fierce protectiveness within me. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Our baby deserves better than a lying, cheating father. Aaron's face hardened. You can't take my child away from me. If you try to leave, I'll fight you for custody. Who do you think the courts will favor? A successful businessman or an unemployed housewife? His threat hung in the air between us, and in that moment, I knew I had to be smarter than him. I couldn't let him know my next move. Forcing tears to my eyes, I softened my voice. You're right, I'm just upset. We should talk about this when we're both calmer. Relief washed over Aaron's face. Of course, Em. We'll figure this out together. As he pulled me into an embrace, my mind was already formulating a plan. I would play the forgiving wife, but in secret I would prepare for war. For the sake of my child, I would take down Aaron and Gloria, no matter the cost. The game had changed, and I was determined to win. The weeks following my discovery of Aaron's betrayal were a masterclass in deception. I played the role of the forgiving wife to perfection, all while secretly preparing my escape. Every gentle touch from Aaron, every sympathetic glance from Gloria only fueled my determination to break free. As my pregnancy progressed, I focused on gathering evidence. Late at night, I combed through financial records, documented Aaron's absences, and built a case that would ensure my freedom and my child's future. The weight of my secret felt crushing at times, but the life growing inside me gave me strength. Then, during a routine checkup, my world shifted again. Mrs. Thompson, the ultrasound technician said, her voice filled with excitement. I have wonderful news. You're having twins. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Twins. 2 precious lives depending on me. As joy and terror warred within me, I realized the stakes had just doubled. Leaving the clinic in a daze, I nearly collided with Gloria, who was waiting in the parking lot. Emily, dear, how was your appointment? She chirped, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. I hesitated, then made a split-second decision. It's twins, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Gloria's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Twins? Oh, this is marvelous. Aaron will be overjoyed. We must start planning immediately. I'll call the country club, book the perfect baby shower venue, and of course, you'll need my help more than ever now. I'll just have to move in to assist with the babies. As Gloria rambled on, making plans for my future, our future, without a second thought to my input, something inside me snapped. The facade I'd carefully maintained for weeks crumbled. No, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Gloria paused mid-sentence. I'm sorry, what did you say? I said no, I repeated louder this time. You won't be moving in, you won't be planning my baby shower, and you certainly won't be making decisions about my children's future. Gloria's eyes narrowed dangerously. Now, Emily, don't be foolish. You clearly can't handle twins on your own. Aaron and I... Aaron? I laughed bitterly. You mean the man who's been cheating on me for the past year? The one who's been embezzling from his company to fund his affairs? Gloria's face paled. What are you talking about? That's preposterous. I pulled out my phone, showing her the evidence I'd gathered. It's all true, Gloria. Your perfect son isn't so perfect after all. As Gloria sputtered and denied, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. I'm leaving him, Gloria. I'm taking my babies and starting a new life, far away from you and Aaron. Gloria's shock quickly turned to rage. You ungrateful little tramp, after everything we've done for you, you'll never get away with this. We'll fight you for custody. You'll have nothing. Her words hit me like a physical blow, but I stood my ground. Try it, I hissed. I have enough evidence to bury Aaron. One word from me and his career, his reputation, everything will be destroyed. As I turned to leave, Gloria grabbed my arm. You can't do this to us. To Aaron. He loves you. I wrenched my arm free. Love, is that what you call lying, cheating, and stealing? No, Gloria, that's not love, and I won't let my children grow up thinking it is. Driving home, my emotions swung wildly between elation and despair. The knowledge that I was carrying twins, two precious lives depending on me, filled me with a fierce, protective love. But the reality of my situation, a failing marriage, a deceitful husband, and a vindictive mother-in-law, threatened to overwhelm me. As I pulled into our driveway, I saw Aaron's car. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself for the confrontation to come. I had to tell him about the twins, had to gauge his reaction. It would be the final test, the moment that would determine whether there was anything left to salvage or if I needed to accelerate my plans to leave. With trembling hands, I opened the front door, the weight of my future and my children's future heavy on my shoulders. Whatever happened next would change everything. There was no turning back now. The confrontation with Aaron about the twins had been the final straw. His initial joy quickly morphed into panic about finances and how this would affect his freedom. In that moment, I knew there was no future for us. With shaking hands, I packed a small bag and drove to my parents' house, tears blurring my vision the entire way. Mom opened the door, her smile fading as she took in my disheveled appearance. "Emily, sweetheart, what's wrong?" I collapsed into her arms, sobs racking my body. Dad appeared behind her, his face etched with concern. They ushered me inside, and through broken sobs, I poured out the whole sordid tale. Aaron's affairs, the embezzlement, Gloria's manipulations, and finally the twins. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry. We had no idea." Dad's face darkened with anger. "That son of a... I'll kill him." I shook my head vehemently. "No, Dad, I need to handle this myself, for the babies." They exchanged a worried glance before Mom asked, "What are you going to do?" Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself. "I'm going to divorce him, after the twins are born." The words hung heavy in the air. My parents, shocked into silence, simply held me as I cried. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. My parents rallied around me, helping me contact lawyers and make plans for the future. Aaron called incessantly, alternating between tearful apologies and angry threats. I let them all go to voicemail, focusing instead on my health and the babies growing inside me. As my due date approached, the stress began to take its toll. My blood pressure spiked and the doctor ordered bed rest. Confined to my childhood bedroom, I felt like a prisoner in my own body, my mind racing with worries about the future. One afternoon, as I lay trying to nap, I heard raised voices downstairs. Curious, I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding as I recognized the voices. "How dare you show up here?" Dad's voice boomed. "After what you've done to our daughter." "Please, Mr. Johnson," Aaron pleaded. "I just want to talk to Emily, to make things right." "There's nothing to make right," Mom interjected, her usually gentle voice hard as steel. "You've done enough damage. Leave before we call the police." "You can't keep me from my children," Aaron shouted. "I have rights." I gripped the banister, my knees weak. How dare he? After everything he'd done, he thought he had rights? Suddenly, a sharp pain ripped through my abdomen. I gasped, doubling over. Another pain followed, more intense than the first. "Mom," I called out, my voice strained. "Dad." The arguing voices below fell silent. Then a flurry of footsteps on the stairs. "Emily?" Mom's worried face appeared. "Oh, God, are you in labor?" I nodded, unable to speak through the pain. Dad appeared behind her side, his face pale. "I'm calling an ambulance," he said, pulling out his phone. "No." Aaron's voice came from behind them. "I'll drive. It'll be faster." For a moment we all froze, the tension palpable. Then another contraction hit, and I cried out in pain. "Fine," Dad growled, "but I'm coming with you." The drive to the hospital was a blur of pain and fear. Aaron kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, his face a mask of worry and guilt. Dad sat beside me in the back seat, holding my hand and murmuring words of encouragement. As we pulled up to the emergency entrance, a terrifying thought struck me. What if Aaron tried to take the babies? What if he and Gloria conspired to keep them from me? Panic seized me, making it hard to breathe. "Dad," I gasped. "Don't let him near the babies. Promise me." Dad's eyes met mine, understanding dawning in them. He nodded solemnly. "I promise, sweetheart. He won't get near them." As the nurses wheeled me into the delivery room, I caught one last glimpse of Aaron's face, a mixture of longing, regret, and something that looked almost like determination. In that moment, I knew that the real battle was just beginning. The doors swung shut behind me, and I steeled myself for what was to come. My children's future hung in the balance, and I was determined to fight with everything I had to protect them, no matter the cost. 3 months after the twins' birth, I stood at the front door of what was once my home, my heart pounding. Dad waited in the car with the babies, ready to intervene if needed. With a deep breath, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house was eerily quiet as I made my way to the bedroom, filling a suitcase with my remaining belongings. As I reached for a photo album on the top shelf, a stack of papers tumbled down. Curious, I picked them up, my blood running cold as I realized what they were. More evidence of Aaron's affairs and financial misdeeds. Emily? Aaron's voice startled me. I spun around to see him and Gloria in the doorway, their faces a mix of surprise and anger. "What are you doing here?" Gloria demanded, her eyes narrowing as she spotted the suitcase. I straightened my spine, clutching the papers. "I'm getting my things. I'm leaving, Aaron, for good this time." Aaron's face darkened. "You can't take my children away from me. I won't let you." "Your children?" I laughed bitterly. "The ones you've barely seen since they were born? The ones you were ready to abandon when you found out I was having twins?" Gloria gasped, turning to Aaron. "What is she talking about?" I held up the papers. "Why don't you ask your perfect son about his affairs, or about the money he's been embezzling from his company?" Aaron lunged forward, trying to snatch the papers, but I was quicker. "Emily, you don't understand. I can explain." "Explain what?" I shouted. Years of pent-up frustration pouring out. How you lied to me, cheated on me, made me feel worthless in my own home. Gloria's face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful little—" "No," I cut her off. "I'm done being silent, done being the perfect, obedient wife. I'm taking my children and starting a new life, away from your manipulation and Aaron's lies." Aaron's demeanor suddenly changed, his voice turning cold. "If you walk out that door, I'll destroy you. I'll take the twins, ruin your reputation. You'll have nothing." For a moment, fear gripped me. Then I remembered the strength I'd found in myself, the love I had for my children. I stood taller, meeting his gaze. "Try it," I said, my voice steady. "I have enough evidence to bury you, Aaron. One word from me, and your career, your reputation, everything you care about, will be gone." Gloria stepped forward, her voice sickly sweet. "Now, Emily, let's not be hasty. We're family. We can work this out." I turned to her, years of resentment bubbling to the surface. "Family? Is that what you call this? You've done nothing but undermine and belittle me from the day I married your son. Well, it ends now." I grabbed my suitcase, pushing past them towards the door. Aaron grabbed my arm, his grip painfully tight. "You can't do this to me," he hissed. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I wrenched my arm free and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the room, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. "Watch me," I said, my voice low and dangerous. As I walked out the front door, I heard Gloria wailing and Aaron calling my name. But I didn't look back. Dad was waiting, a proud smile on his face as he helped me into the car. Looking at my sleeping twins in the back seat, a wave of peace washed over me. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years I felt truly free. "Ready to go home?" Dad asked gently. I nodded, a small smile playing on my lips. "More than ready." As we drove away, I caught a final glimpse of Aaron and Gloria in the rearview mirror, standing shell-shocked on the front porch. The sight that once would have filled me with dread now only strengthened my resolve. I had survived their manipulation, their lies, and their attempts to break me. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to create a beautiful life for myself and my children. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor, a fighter, and a mother who would move mountains for her children. As we turned the corner, leaving my old life behind, I felt a surge of excitement for what lay ahead. The journey wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face it head-on. After all, I had fought the hardest battle of my life and won. Whatever challenges came next, I knew I had the strength to overcome them. The road stretched out before us, full of promise and possibility. And for the first time in years, I couldn't wait to see where it would lead.